Parashat Ki Tetze. So you're gonna help me to pronounce these the ancient biblical Hebrew way, right?
Yeah. How about we focus on like maybe two or three, whatever you think, but I would suggest not trying to do it all at once, but maybe like two or three letters at a time. And then once you're more fluid with those letters, then we'll add more letters. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying?
Okay. So Ki,
So which letters are they going to be? Tav, I guess. Beged Kefet letters first. That makes sense, right?
okay. That sounds good. Ki, okay, so this is Ki Tetze.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you go forth.
All right. And important here to note that ki often means because
Or if.
in modern Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, it's the most simple and common way of saying because, even though there are like 6 or 7 ways of saying because. In biblical Hebrew, it can mean because, but it more often means like that or for.
But here,
Here, the way they translate it is if. That's sort of interpretive. It's like saying asher here. So it could mean if. It could also mean when.
yeah, they translate it as when on. Oh, but here they translate it as if. Another translation says when. But when or if both would make sense, right?
Right. Yeah.
Ki Tetze. Um, Ki Tetze.
Good.
Tetze. La milchama.
Mm-hmm.
To war. Actually, la milchama.
Good.
Al 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 al.
I'm only going to emphasize the bigot capital letters at first, but if you want to do more, fine, that's good. But
Okay.
I'm not gonna make a big deal about
Okay.
everything. It's too
Okay.
much. Like there's a lot of differences.
Oivecha, your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does oive have anything to do with this word?
No.
Okay. um,
Perhaps.
unthono, and
Fauna.
unthono. That's
Yeah.
it. I think I said that right. This is when he gives to you.
Good.
Uh,
When he gives to you,
no,
no.
when he gives, just when he gives.
And then the O at the end is
Oh, when he
him
gives them. Oh,
or
yes.
it.
When
Not
he
not
gives.
them, but it.
Okay.
Him or it.
It's singular. Yes.
Yes, it's singular. It's either him or it.
Okay. When he gives. Okay. When he gives it, meaning
It's
probably
referring to the enemy.
or the success of the war.
Correct.
Okay. Elohecha, your God. Beyodcho, which is um, actually beyodecha,
Good.
beyodecha. No, beyodecha,
Perfect. Bullseye.
and this is into your hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, vesho veshovitha,
Good.
vitha, and you have taken,
You could say that, but there's a more exact way you could translate it.
which is
Um, well, we wouldn't say this in English, but Chevy, the root is like Chevy, which is like captivity, being taken in, like being taken hostage, basically, or being taken as
captured.
booty or as loot. Yeah, captured. Right.
Okay, you
So
have
I was going to
captured.
say, and you captivate, but I know people don't say that. Captured is probably better. And you capture
Um,
or take hold, maybe.
and then shivyo, that
So
seems
the
that
same root but different form.
why would it say it two times?
Well, the first is a verb, the second is a noun with a possessive, masculine singular possessive article at the end.
Oh, and you have taken it,
Yeah, but and you basically and you capture
the
its
captive.
its loot or its captive, right?
Oh, okay. How does it say it here? His captives.
So probably you capture its captives is probably the best way.
Okay.
But notice they're the same root. They're the same basic meaning.
Yeah, I see that. So I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, there's a more general word for take, and this is not it.
Veroito.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, veroito. And you see ba bashivya bashivyo. And you see among the captives, right?
You can say that, yeah. Sometimes there's more than one way of translating it. That's fine.
How would you say it?
I think that's a good way, the way that you said it. You could also say in the captivity. I think the way you said it is the best.
For English, right?
In this context.
It's not really.
If you had the same exact word, go ahead.
This is not really a plural word, though, right?
No, it's not plural.
Yeah.
But
for English,
you can't always be strict, right?
Maybe more exact would be among the loot. But the thing is, in English, in English, loot doesn't.
But that sounds inanimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, it sounds like inanimate objects. Yeah.
But in the Hebrew, it would include both the people and things.
Yes.
Okay. Eshet, a woman.
But more specifically, the people. A woman of.
Eshet, a woman of. Yefat. Yefat Toar.
So good.
Yefat Toar. Sorry, that is beautiful. I don't know what Toar is.
It means form.
Oh, okay. Beautiful form. Okay.
Right, and the tav in Yafat is the same as the tav in Eshet. So the normal word would be Yafat. So Yafat means beauty of.
Okay.
So beauty of form, like she's comely of form.
Beauty of form.
Yeah, meaning she's a beautiful woman. Not just in her personality, but like physically, right?
Yes. V'chosha to. That. And you desire her.
Yeah, and this is a pretty strong word for desire.
And you lust over her.
It's a very strong, yeah, you could say that. There's another word for lust, but you could also translate this as lust.
How about, so va would just be her.
Come again? Va.
Va.
Yeah, that's pronounced as a consonant, the mapik and the he.
Va.
Yeah, that's a whole pronoun.
It means her? Or
in her.
Oh, in her.
Right.
Okay, and you desire.
You wouldn't say it that way in English, but that's what it means.
Okay, and you have a desire in her.
Right, or maybe at her.
For her.
Yeah. That's more Anglo.
Velokach to. That is and you want to take her?
And you will?
And you will take her? Okay.
Right. And why is it and you will?
I don't know why.
Yes, you do. No. There's a tav at the end.
Yes, that's you. But
and
there's no her, right? There's no her here. And you will take.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no her yet, but it is referring to her.
Lecha is to her.
No.
No.
Lecha is masculine.
To yourself.
Good. Yes.
Oh, and you take to yourself. Le isha. To be your wife.
Yes.
Okay.
To or for wife, but we would say as a wife.
Okay. And you take her to yourself to wife.
Yeah. You may even say to wed, but it's
Isa.
as a wife is what it means.
Okay.
And that's, by the way, is the normal word for take.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed, right. That's the normal word for take.
Mm-hmm. The other one was capture.
Right. That was more specialized.
Vishovia. Vishovita.
Mm-hmm.
So then here. Vaha Vahave Tho.
Mm-hmm.
Vahave
So
Tho.
this is a whole sentence. This is an example of Hebrew being able to be a lot shorter than English.
And you will, I want to say, and you will, does it mean and you will bring her?
Exactly. That's exactly what it means.
It does? Okay.
Yep.
Vahave Tho. I was going to
You
say,
want to elongate the vowel of the vav.
which, so Vahave Tho.
So you want to elongate the vowel of the vav, but you're going to shorten the vowel under the hey.
Vahave Tho.
It's shava.
Vahave Tho.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because of
And
the line.
emphasize the ha.
What is this mark called?
I don't
You don't know?
remember.
Okay. This is a chafef patah. Okay. L.
We need to make a list of, well, I need to.
El Tod. Huh?
Toad?
Yeah.
No.
Toch. El Toch.
Yeah. I just saw a frog in my head.
Sorry. El Toch. And you should bring her to your. I know it translates as home, but it means more like between or.
All right, so you do have the word home here, but you haven't gotten to that word yet.
Okay. So what's Toch?
This is a common word, so it's worth noting. It means within or inside.
Yeah. I thought that. Okay. Okay, bring her to the inside.
Good.
Bethecho of your house.
Good.
Vegil.
Beged kefet.
How would that be different?
Mhm.
Oh, vegilcha. Vegilcho. Vegilcho.
And there's a dagesh in the lamed. I'm only saying that because you already know that.
I don't know how would that be pronounced differently.
And it's not pronounced differently. It's not beged kefet issue. Any shava that has, so a shava can be a sounded shava, what's called a shava na, even when there is no dagesh in the letter above the shava, but that's not always the case. However, if there is a dagesh in the letter over the shava, it is always a shava na, always a sounded shava.
Okay. Vegilcho.
Good.
And she shall shave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Eth rosho.
Oh.
Et rosho.
Good.
Her head. Ve'osito.
Perfect.
Ve'osito. And what does that mean? Hold on.
You can do it.
Ve'osito. Oh, it's like to do, and she
Good.
shall make.
It's the imperfect. I'm sorry. It's the perfect form of she did, but the vav, of course, makes it future.
Okay. Eth sipor. Et siporeneha.
Mm-hmm.
Et siporeneho.
Good.
And she shall do her nails. Ooh, she gets to do a manicure, huh?
Yeah, it literally says, and she shall do her nails, and she shall make her nails.
But that's not what it means. It means that she should like maybe trim it down, like cut it and trim it down.
Contextually, that makes sense, but the text certainly, I mean, I'm not aware of any controversy or different interpretations of this. I have negative bias in saying this, but it's really not plain here, and it certainly could have been.
Painting her nails?
No, it's really not plain here what is meant, because all it says is, and she shall do her nails. And there are several words that could have been used that are a lot more clear for cutting nails
Mm-hmm.
than, and she shall do her nails.
Mm-hmm.
It's odd.
So okay, I only wanted to do 3 verses, but I wanted to. Can we just talk about it a little bit?
Go, yeah, go right ahead.
This is the rest of it is about how she should mourn her dead relatives.
Right.
Was it for 30 days?
Yeah. Well, for a month.
Oh, this one says, and let her nails grow.
That makes more sense, though that's also not exactly what it says.
Mm-hmm. What does the Mishnah say?
That makes, okay, so I don't remember if it says that she cuts her nails and then lets them grow. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes more sense.
To cut her nails?
No, that she would make them grow. That's a more logical translation, even though, again, it could have been clear. And it's still not clear.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And she shall remove the garment of her captivity from upon herself and stay in your house and weep for her father and her mother for a full month. After that, you may be intimate with her and possess her, and she will be a wife for you. So I was listening to the Prager Torah class on this, and he gives an interesting take. He says that this law was meant to protect the woman because it would prevent actually rape during wartime, because that is common when men go to war. They will just rape.
Yep. Even till modern times,
it's still common, right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know percentage wise, like how common, but it's certainly more common for otherwise decent men to become more animalistic in war. I mean, it's certainly more common even today.
Well, I know, I've heard that Islamic soldiers do that.
Oh, yeah, because they have like outright permission to.
but I've even heard stories of American soldiers.
Yeah, me too. I have. Yep. Of course, it's not the norm, and I'm sure.
And it's not accepted.
It's going to be less.
Yeah, but still.
When you're part of a military that, of course, it's not accepted, but that doesn't change the fact that certain scenarios to certain negative behaviors. That's not an excuse, but to ignore as well.
Yeah.
It's like if a woman walks around skimpily clad and makes sensual gestures, a guy is still responsible if he rapes her. But at the same time, it's being very naive and irresponsible towards oneself to be delusional and saying that my sensual behavior and walking around even naked would have absolutely no impact. Like, it's irrational. That doesn't excuse a guy raping, but there are consequences to our actions. I mean, certain actions can increase likelihood to negative behavior. So with guys, war increases the likelihood of uncivil behavior.
And so this is saying, you can have her, but you have to let her mourn for 30 days. You have to see her without her hair.
Right.
Bald. You have to take care of her, basically.
Yep.
It's not, you can't do it in passion and anger or revenge.
Right. I think there are opinions in rabbinic literature that you can, but there are obviously opinions in rabbinic literature that harmonize much more with what to me seems quite explicit here. That it is exactly the opposite, right?
Why would they say, why would some...
I have no idea. I have no idea.
So, and he likens this to the treatment of slaves, because also, slaves were allowed in the Torah, but yet there were so many rules
Hmm.
concerning slavery and slaves' rights that it became
And
a
it's,
burden.
it is not something that I would advocate, obviously, but the slavery of the Bible, even from the biblical text, has fundamental differences from the sort of slavery that has happened throughout history.
Yeah,
Whether you're talking about in the US or, as has happened much more frequently than is politically correct to acknowledge, all over the world.
it's still
There's
happening. Yeah,
significant difference. Absolutely. But there are significant differences even in the text. But if you look in rabbinic literature, there are even more differences. So it certainly wasn't an ideal scenario by any means, but it also had absolutely nothing to do with race.
yeah,
That is also, go ahead.
and also there was no well, there was no kidnapping for slavery for slaves, right?
Right. Well, the details regarding slavery you can find actually in the laws of servitude.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually in Mishnah Torah, and it's very interesting. I very much enjoyed reading it because it shows you the drastic difference. Like even if someone is a total staunch Karaite opinion, right? They completely reject rabbinic law as being in any way authoritative. But even if you're from that perspective, if you look at what rabbinic law says on this matter, it says a lot positively about the Jewish people and rabbinic literature because they could have easily taken it in a much more inhumane way, but they basically went as humane as they could possibly be dealing with the text in rabbinic literature. And I think even a Karaite or an atheist, if he's in any way intellectually honest, would acknowledge that. Like, it's amazing. I really recommend anyone learning these laws. It's very insightful.
Prager talks about how there's a quote. I don't know if it's found in the Talmud or not, but that says, if you acquire a slave, you've acquired yourself
A master.
a master. Yes, there we go. Because
Yeah, it's very well known.
because because slave owners had to treat their slaves as good as themselves in many ways, or even better. Like if someone had just one pillow, they're obligated by Jewish law to give it to their slave instead of using it for themselves.
They also had a choice in whether or not they would be in slavery. That's not in the biblical text. That's in ancient rabbinic literature. But you can see it insinuated in the biblical text.
Even non-Israelite slaves,
Absolutely, yeah.
they had a choice of being.
They had a sense of they had a choice, not the best of choices, but they had a choice whether or not to be an Israelite slave at least. Basically, if they didn't repudiate idolatry, then they could not be a slave to the Israelite. They had to voluntarily repudiate idolatry. Not only that, they had to basically accept the Torah.
In order to be a slave?
Yeah. Yep. They undergo a type of conversion even. They're no longer considered a non-Israelite. They are considered not a full Israelite, but also not a non-Israelite. They're considered members of the covenant.
I thought I also read that they had the choice of full conversion, and then
They do.
If
Yep.
they did that, they could be treated like an Israelite slave and go free.
Right. But that wasn't that is correct. And if they immerse with that intent, then they're a full convert, even if the owner didn't intend for it to be. But that is not I mean, in the context of you don't tell them this, right? Like if this is a person who's a captive of war, you're not going to tell them. They're not likely to know it also.
They could learn though.
Of course they could learn. In fact, the laws regarding servitude gives all sorts of actions that the slave can do even after his formal status as becoming a slave. Different actions he can do, which when he does them, will then make his owner required to free him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about simple actions, like if he puts on tefillin.
Mm.
But if he frees him, he becomes an Israelite. There's no, he doesn't become a non-Israelite. He doesn't like revert to being a non-Jew.
Yeah, the conversion is set after.
Right.
Right.
Yep. It's like retroactive. His immersion retroactively applies to full conversion. But even not retroactively, even at the moment of immersion into Israelite servitude, he's already taken out of the realm of being a non-Israelite.
Why would they need to do immersion if it's not for conversion?
It is a type of conversion. Conversion as a word in English and probably in many other languages are not proper translations of the word which is normally translated as conversion. Conversion is not the proper translation, but it's commonly used, and I commonly use it simply because it's more easy and convenient. But the word that's usually translated as conversion more accurately means to immigrate or to be naturalized.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And just as in the United States, and I'm sure in many countries, just as there are different types of immigrants, so also with the people of Israel. So a slave of Israel is a type of immigrant to the people of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He's not considered an all-out foreigner, and he also there has to be some extent of willfulness in it. If you take him as a slave, but he continues to embrace idolatry, he can't be your slave. You know, like you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was from last week's Torah portion, right? It basically, or well, it's related to, right? Where when you go to war, the you're supposed to announce peace, and if they say peace back, then you are to take them in as servants,
Right.
and
Yep.
if not, then you're to destroy them.
Correct. But even with that, there are different details and laws.
Mm-hmm.
Many laws.
Okay. Well, but the bottom line is that a lot of these laws, although they may seem strange, they are actually here to protect the oppressed, not to give rights, or to give rights to the oppressed, not to give rights to the
Right.
possible oppressor.
Yep. And also, it's not ideal. We're not saying this is ideal.
It's not ideal, but another thing that Prager says is that Hashem knew that he couldn't simply abolish slavery.
No, you can't. Even in the United States, it didn't just happen like I mean, not only slavery, but look at integration, right? But both of them, both for slavery and for integration, for generations before, there were leaders in America, white leaders who opposed slavery. There were white leaders who opposed segregation. But you can't simply prematurely compel that upon a society that is absolutely going to overtly reject that. I mean, you can do it, but they're going to be impotent words.
Mm-hmm.
The more logical thing to do is to state your opposition to it, but then to make legislation, right, that regulates it and that can adjust the society to a point where hopefully eventually then they can accept not doing it.
Possibly.
But to just simply make a law forbidding it when 90% plus is just going to ignore the law, go ahead and make such a law, but it's going to be an impotent law. There will be no power to it.
Which is
Laws have as much power as. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, which is why also polygamy was allowed, even though it's not necessarily.
Right. I do think there are isolated situations where polygamy could be ideal, but ideal in unideal situations. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But even in my opinion, I think it's only ideal in certain unideal situations. I don't know. There may be certain men who are super, but then again, that'd be an unideal situation. It seems to me that the average guy is able to have enough self-control, and I think it's worth it. What?
I think it's a little bit interesting that to Doesn't the Bible say that God hates divorce somewhere?
Seems like it, but
Let me see.
it does seem like it, but I can't pinpoint a place. I'm not
It's
sure if that's in another section.
Malachi.
There you go. Yeah, fair.
Malachi.
Very nice.
Okay. So I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting that God says, I hate divorce, but then
Right.
polygamy is allowed. And then
Correct.
America, supposedly as a Christian nation, bans polygamy, but divorce, there's like no problem with.
Right.
At least
Yep.
now. I mean, before there was more of a stigma against divorce.
Right. Yep. Yep.
I just think
That's
it's
true.
interesting.
It is interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I politically endorse certain things that on a personal level I don't advocate. I mean, for example, free speech. I'm in favor for free speech even of things that I disagree with, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alrighty, I'm gonna stop this now. Say bye-bye.